أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين آمين والحمد لله رب العالمين أما بعد. Today we're carrying on with Al-Risalat Al-Qushayriyya, Imam Qushayri's epistle. And we were talking about, the subject was the Aqidah of those we call Sufis. And we explained yesterday that those who we call Sufis, the awliya of the Sufis, the Imams, the leaders, we read from their own quotes that they are not Mu'tazila. Mu'tazila, for those of you that don't know, Mu'tazila, they believe that a person create their own acts, and they also believe that Allah must do what is good. So they're saying that Allah, Hasha, has no choice in the matter. He must do what is good. So that is a Mu'taziliya belief. We also explained through their own terms, through their own quotes, that they are also not Jabariya. Jabariya was, Jabariyas believe that a human being has no input in his own actions and that it's created by Allah. So if you're destined to commit a sin, for example, they say a person cannot be held liable for sinning because they were destined to commit that sin and they had no other choice, like a feather being blown in the wind is the example that's given usually. We also explained through the quotes of the Imams of the Sufis that they are also not Jabariya. We also explained that they are not what we would call mushabbiha or mujassima. We made that very clear. What does that mean? Mushabbiha, mujassima, we call them both because it usually entails the same thing. Mushabbiha means those who compare or make similarities between Allah and His creation. Tashbih means to be similar. Mujassima means to say that it has a jism. Allah has a jism, which means a physical body. So these people, the Mujassima, Mushabbiha, they say he has a physical body. We made it very clear that the Imams of this tariqah, the Imams of Sufism, they do not believe in a physical bodily aspect, or they don't believe in tajseem, to give Allah a physical body, because they also negate direction for Allah Ta'ala, and they negate makan, and they negate zaman, they negate place and time, so space-time. They negate that for Allah Ta'ala because they say, as we believe, as every Ahl Sunnah believes, that Allah created time, He created place. Therefore, time and place can never encompass Allah Ta'ala. So we're carrying on through their own quotes. Today we're going to talk about, is it possible for somebody to say, is it allowed for somebody to say that I am a believer haqqan, or I am a believer insha'Allah. So we're going to get to that saying. But first, where were we? We were here. I heard Abu Hatim as-Sijistani say, I heard Abu Nasr at-Tusi as-Sarraj narrate from Yusuf bin al-Hussein, who said, a man stood before Dhunnun al-Masri. You're going to hear a lot about Dhunnun al-Masri in this book. You'll also hear about him in many other Sufi books. He is one of the greatest Imams of Sufism we have. May Allah have mercy upon him. And said, inform me about Tawheed. What is it? So a person is asking Dhunnun al-Masri, what is Tawheed? He said, it is that you know that Allah's power in things is without mixture. What does that mean? That means nobody has power except Allah. This is Tawheed. But also, he's saying that we are not like the Mu'tazila. We don't believe that we create our own things. We create our own a'mal. We create our own actions. We don't believe that. Why? Because that's against Tawheed, right? So from this statement, we understand that the Sufis, they are not Mu'tazila, and that they believe in true Tawheed. His making of things is without treatment. The cause of everything is his making. So his making of things is without treatment. Bila ilaj. So that means it's not fixing anything. So it's not something happened and now Allah does this. So Allah is not reactive to things which happen, because that would imply that Allah is reacting to something out of his control. So you said this, so Allah punished you. Now, yes, while we explain it to each other like that, we also understand that Allah Ta'ala is not reactive in the sense that he doesn't fix things. Nothing ever goes out of his control. The cause of everything is his making, including the good and the bad. So this is again against what the Mu'tazila say. The Mu'tazila say what? That Allah must do good. But this is saying, Dhunnun al-Misri is saying the cause of everything is his making, everything, right? And there is no cause for his making. Allah doesn't have reasons for his doing of things. So it's not that he needed something so he created it, hasha. Or this happened so he had to do this. No, Allah does whatever he wills without question, without having to give any explanation to anything, and without any reason. There is no manager in the highest heavens nor in the lowest earths other than Allah. So, including the angels, even though we say that Azrail alayhi salam is the angel of death, and we say that, for example, Mikail alayhi salam is the angel of what? Rizq on earth, including the rain and the weather patterns. But we understand that they are only there as angels, and angels can only do anything if Allah allows them to and creates their actions. So in reality, the only manager is Allah. And whatever you imagine, so here, Allah the Exalted is other than that. So again, in this statement, Dhunnun al-Misri is making a difference between himself, so all of the Sufis, and the Mujassima and Mushabbiha, which we said they believe that Allah, na'udhu billah, has a physical body, or he has a direction, because that we can imagine, and anything we imagine is impossible for Allah Ta'ala. So, Al-Junayd said, Junayd al-Baghdadi, so you'll keep hearing Dhunnun al-Misri, Junayd al-Baghdadi, and you'll also hear Al-Wasiti Allah, which is Abu Bakr Muhammad bin Musa. He himself is from Khurasan, from Faraghan, or somewhere similar to that in its name. And he passed away in the year about 320, and he was the contemporary of Dhunnun al-Misri. So Junayd said, Tawheed is your knowledge and your affirmation that Allah is singular in his pre-eternity. So with this saying, one moment, let me check my notes here. So there was a group, I forgot their name, that's what I was trying to check here. It was probably the Jahmiyyah. They believed that Iman is knowing Allah in your heart, they said. But what is the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah view on this? It's exactly as Junaid said. It's knowledge, yes, but knowledge isn't enough. You also have to affirm that Allah is singular in His pre-eternity. Because if you think about it, even the Quraysh, they knew Allah existed. They had knowledge of Allah, but we never counted them as Muslims, right? So because they didn't affirm that Allah was their creator, even so having knowledge isn't enough. You need to also affirm, and you need to also stay away from anything that takes you out of Islam. So Tawheed is your knowledge and your affirmation. So there was a group, I forgot their name now, that they said knowledge is enough. And the people like this exist today. So you'll be surprised. So nowadays, I've heard this said before, and this is so wrong. They say the Maturidi and the Ash'ari, which is Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. People say nowadays there's no reason to read Kalam, or there's no reason to study Kalam, because the Mu'tazila have been destroyed. I've heard this from an Imam. So the Mu'tazila have been destroyed. How were the Mu'tazila destroyed? As in knowledge-wise, you basically cannot find any Mu'tazila nowadays. Why? Because the Maturidis and the Ash'aris, through their knowledge and through their scholarship and through their books and their precision in giving the correct responses to these said individuals, have absolutely destroyed any and every knowledgeable base that these people stood upon. So anything that they believed, any position that they took knowledge-wise, was completely dismantled by the Ash'aris and the Maturidis. That's why you can't find Mu'tazilas today. No one walks around saying, I'm a Mu'tazila, right? No one walks around saying that people create their own actions. Why? Because this has been absolutely dismantled by the Ash'aris and the Maturidis. But while it's still, while the Mu'tazilas don't exist maybe today, in big numbers, they may exist somewhere, but we still need to learn Kalam. Reason being is, one, so that they don't re-emerge, right? The second you leave Kalam, the second you stop learning Maturidi and the Ash'ari Aqidah, these people that were gone for maybe 1,000 years, they will resurface 100%. They will resurface. Why? Because the Mu'tazila is a false way of thinking, a wrong way of thinking. The logic is flawed. And wherever there is a flaw in logic, right, that flaw in logic will always affect people no matter what the time. So it's not just, oh, this happened 1,000 years ago, it's never going to happen again. No, a flawed logic will always resurface among people unless it's put down by correct logic. So that's what Maturidi Ash'ariyya is. They use logic, which people refer to as philosophy. They use philosophy and logic to put down the arguments of the Mu'tazilas, and they've completely dismantled and destroyed them, knowledge-wise, right? But if you stop learning it, this flawed logic will slowly creep into the normal person's belief. So when a person says, you know, what can I do? Allah destined it this way. You have to be able to say no. Maturidi Ash'ari say, you are responsible for your actions. You can't just say Allah destined for it to be like this and whatnot. You know, you can't blame Allah for the things which you have done. So this is why Kalam is still important. These sort of logics and these sort of flawed logics, they will creep up into people's minds so long as it's not put down over and over again. So that's why learning Kalam is important. Learning this Aqidah is important. Again, so Junaid said, Tawheed is your knowledge and your affirmation that Allah is singular in His pre-eternity, with no second alongside Him, and nothing performs His act, right? Nobody creates His actions. So Abdullah ibn Khafif said, faith is the heart's affirmation. So again, tasdeeq of what the truth has made known to them of the unseen. So Allah is from the ghaib. but Allah has made himself known to us. So affirming what Allah has made known to us from the unseen, this is what Iman is. Abu al-Abbas al-Sayyari said, his giving is of two kinds. There is karama and there's istidraj, okay? So karama, which means honoring. So the word karama, we say karamatul awliya, right? Karama means honoring, right? The honoring of the awliya is through what we call the karama, the gifts, right? And istidraj, which means gradual enticement in a bad way, away from Allah, okay? So these notes here, like these, in the brackets, they're not in the Arabic, but you know, just saying honoring, gradual enticement doesn't make sense in English without adding these, right? Whatever he leaves with you is karama, okay? And whatever he removes from you is istidraj. So say, I am a believer if Allah wills, insha'Allah. Why? Because you don't know the future, I've added here. So this is the reason he's saying it. He's saying what? Karama is what stays with you. Istidraj is what gets removed from you. Okay? That's why he's saying Iman, it's possible that it may be removed from you. So you need to say, he's saying, I am a Muslim, insha'Allah. Why? Because you don't know the future. So he's saying, I am a mu'min. So I am a mu'min, insha'Allah, is to do with what you don't know about the future, right? Abu al-Abbas al-Sayyari was the sheikh of his time. So if we go to the 9th footnote, saying, I am a believer, insha'Allah, is not due to doubt about one's Islam, but out of humility and recognition that the reality, completion of Iman, and one's final state is known only to Allah. For this reason, many scholars did not consider this expression blameworthy, and they did not treat it as a statement of disbelief. So, obviously, there are those which say, if you say, I am a mu'min, insha'Allah, they're going to interpret that how? They're going to say, oh, you are not sure that you're a mu'min. Not being sure that you're a mu'min means you're a kafir, which is true, but that's not what is meant by saying insha'Allah. So when a Sufi says, I am a Muslim, insha'Allah, what they're saying is, I am a Muslim now, but I don't know what's going to happen if I pass away. So I'm saying, insha'Allah, that Allah allows me to pass away in the state I am now. So it's not about to do with their Iman, it's about to do with their future. So that is how we should understand, I am a mu'min, insha'Allah. Now, I heard, who is I? It's Imam Qushayri. If you remember, his name was Abdul Karim. Abdul Karim al-Qushayri is saying, I heard the teacher Abu Ali al-Daqqaq, which means Abu Ali al-Daqqaq and Imam Qushayri are contemporaries. They're in the same time zone, right? The time frame. May Allah have mercy upon him say, a man pressed the foot of Abu al-Abbas al-Sayyari. So the same one up here, Abu al-Abbas al-Sayyari. Someone pressed his foot. Now, pressed his foot, I believe, means it was a massage, but that's not what the Arabic says. It just says press. So that's how I've translated it here. And he said, you press a foot. I have never once moved in disobedience to Allah, mighty and exalted. Now, why is this quote put inside of the Aqidah section here? This is one thing I had to think about. Now, these quotes are normal in the whole book as a whole in general, but in this section to have this quote, I wondered about it, and then I understood that over here I have never once moved in disobedience. So this is saying that if I were to move my foot in disobedience, it would have been me moving it, as in Allah is not to blame for my actions. So again, we are not like the Jabariyya, which say that a person has no input in his own actions. He's saying, I have never moved my foot in disobedience. So if I did, it would have been my fault. So that's why I believe this quote is written inside of this Aqidah chapter here. Now, Abu Bakr al-Wasiti, remember Abu Bakr al-Wasiti, we talked about him in the beginning of the lesson just now. He said, whoever says, I am truly a believer. So what is that in Arabic? أنا مؤمن بالله. I'm a believer in Allah. حقا. Right? Whoever says, with haqiqa, I am a believer. Haqqan, I am a believer. I am truly a believer with haqq. Right? It is said to him, now he's saying that you can't say this, right? Why can't you say I'm a haqiqi believer? I am a truly a believer. Why can't you say this? He says, haqiqa, reality, indicates oversight, awareness and encompassment, right? Oversight or awareness and encompassment. Whoever lacks that, his claim is invalid. For you to say, I know haqiqatan something, means either you're in charge of that thing, so you know from A to Z everything about it, for it to be haqiqi belief, right? You need awareness, encompassment of the whole thing. But over here he's saying, why can't you say I am a mu'min haqqan? It's because you don't know how you're going to die. Therefore, for you to say, I know I'm a haqiqi mu'min, a haqiqi mu'min is someone who lives and dies as a mu'min. Therefore, since you haven't died yet, and you cannot have knowledge encompassing your death, therefore, for you to say, I am a mu'min haqqan would be a lie. That's why he's saying you can't say, I'm a mu'min haqqan. Not because of a doubt in your current Iman, it's because of having no knowledge of what's going to happen in the future. Therefore, he says, it's not allowed to say, Ana mu'minun billahi haqqan. By this, he intended what the Ahl Sunnah say, that the true haqiqi believer is one destined for paradise. So you must die as a believer. So whoever does not know that he is destined for paradise, which is from the secret of Allah's wisdom, his claim to be truly haqqan, a believer, is not correct. I heard the Shaykh Abu Abdul Rahman As-Sulami say, I heard Mansur ibn Abdullah say, I heard Abu al-Hasan al-Anbari say, I heard Sahil ibn Abdullah and Tustari say, you'll hear about him quite a bit in the book, the believers will look at him with their eyes without encompassing or reaching an end. Okay, so when we see, insha'Allah, we all get to see Allah Ta'ala in Jannah, we will see him with our eyes, but there will be no encompassing or reaching an end, because limits and Allah cannot be in the same sentence, right? Abu al-Hasan al-Nuri, you'll hear about him, Abu al-Hasan al-Nuri, it's said that he's even above al-Junayd al-Baghdadi. Abu al-Hasan al-Nuri said, his real name is Abu al-Hasan Muhammad, Ahmed bin Muhammad al-Nuri. The truth beheld the heart and found no heart more longing for him than the heart of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The truth being Allah Ta'ala. He beheld the hearts and found no heart more longing for him than the heart of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he honored him with the ascension to hasten the vision and the address. So over here we learn that the Imams of the Sufis, they believe in Mi'raj. There are those that don't believe in Mi'raj. They believe in Isra, because denying Isra would be kufr, because it's in the Quran. But some, they deny Mi'raj. They deny that the Prophet ﷺ went to the heavens. So through this we understand that we obviously believe in Mi'raj. We believe in the vision. And we believe that there was an address, a talk, which happened. I heard the Imam Abu Bakr Muhammad bin Hassan ibn Furak bin Furak, sorry, not Furak, Furak, may Allah have mercy on him, say, I heard Muhammad al-Mahbub, the servant of Abu Uthman al-Maghribi, say, I love this quote, by the way, say, Abu Uthman al-Maghribi said to me one day, O Muhammad, if someone says to you, where is your worshipped one? So where is Allah? What will you say? Listen, he's asking his servant, right? I said, I will say where he has always been. So if somebody asks, where is Allah? The servant says, where he's always been. So he said, Abu Uthman al-Maghribi said, if he says, where was he in pre-eternity, what will you say? I said, I will say, where he is now, meaning that he is as he was. So if someone says, where was Allah in pre-eternity? We say where he was now. If they ask us where Allah is now, we say where he was in pre-eternity. Same thing, right? Without place. And he is now as he was. So, and Abu Uthman al-Maghribi, he approved of that from me, removed his shirt and gave it to me out of happiness for the quote. Now, what is the quote? If you read the Arabic here, and those who like poems and things which rhyme, you should memorize this. أنه كما كان ولا مكان فهو الآن على ما كان. أنه, so Allah Ta'ala, كما كان, as he was, ولا مكان, when there was no makan, فهو الآن, he is now على ما كان, as he was. So just as Allah was without a place, before place was created, he right now is على ما كان, as he was. So there was no change in Allah Ta'ala, is what it's saying. So أنه كما كان ولا مكان فهو الآن على ما كان. I heard the Imam Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, say, I believe that's Abu Bakr al-Maghribi. Sorry, yeah. I heard Abu Uthman al-Maghribi say in Mecca, actually that might be Abu Bakr here. I heard Abu Uthman al-Maghribi say in Mecca, I used to believe something of the doctrine of direction. So Abu Uthman al-Maghribi, he says, and he was in Mecca when he said this, that he used to believe something of the doctrine of direction, i.e. that Allah is in a direction. He used to believe that. But when I arrived in Baghdad, that left my heart. So the idea that Allah has a direction left his heart. And I wrote to our companions, I have embraced Islam anew. So I am a new Muslim. Why is this influential? One, because why is this important? It's because Abu Uthman al-Maghribi, he believes that saying that Allah has a direction will take you out of Islam. So that's why he says, I have embraced Islam anew. That I have gotten rid of this kufri statement and this kufri belief from my heart. As in, Allah has removed it from my heart. Now, I heard Muhammad bin al-Hussein al-Sulami, may Allah have mercy upon him, say, I heard Abu Uthman al-Maghribi, when he was asked about creation, say, creation are molds and figures upon which the rulings of divine power run. I.e., they have no power of their own. They don't have qudrah. But what do they have? They have kasb. Kasb is, we have what we call a juz'i irada. Juz'i irada means we have choices. And we have been given freedom of choice. But we do not have the power to create anything. That's why we say, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There is no quwwah, there is no power, there is no strength except from Allah. Therefore, we don't believe that a human being can create his own actions, but neither are they completely, we don't have the belief of the Jabariyya, which say that we're like a feather in the wind and wherever Allah pushes us, we go. We believe that we have what? Kasb, which is we intend something. We have a choice in matters, in many matters, not every matter. We have a choice in some matters. And according to our choices and according to our choices, Allah creates. For example, when I want to pick up this glass here, I use my own will to say, I want to pick this up. And if Allah wills, He creates it and I'm able to pick it up. So it's through no power of my own. The power and the creation is from Allah. However, He's made it in such a way that He's given us the choice of things. That's why we are able to be punished for the things which we do. That's why we cannot say Allah created this and Allah did this, so why should I be punished? That argument falls flat on its face when you say that the choice was yours. Again, Al-Wasiti, who was Al-Wasiti? Abu Bakr, said, since spirits and bodies subsist by Allah and manifest through Him, not by themselves, spirits and bodies, bodies being ajsam, spirits being arwah, right, the ruh, they manifest through Allah, as in through the creation of Allah, not by themselves. They can't suddenly appear. Likewise, thoughts and motions subsist by Allah, not by themselves. So these thoughts and motions, right, they are what we call arad. You can't hold them. Remember we said, for example, yes, last lesson's example was color. You cannot hold the color red. You may hold paint, but you can't hold the color red, right? Paint is different, color is different. Or you can't hold temperature. You can't hold motion. You can't hold stillness, right? All of these things, they're arad, and they can't appear by themselves. They must come with a body, a jism, right? So Allah, likewise, thoughts and motions subsist by Allah, not by themselves. For motions and thoughts are branches of bodies and spirits. So they are nothing without bodies and spirits. So if they're branches, you can't have a branch without what? The trunk of a tree. So the bodies and the spirits, they're the trunk of the tree. And thoughts and branches, they are what? Motions and thoughts, they're the branches. So without the trunk, thoughts and motions cannot happen. In this statement, he made explicit that the acts of servants are created by Allah the Most High. Just as there is no creator of substances except Allah, likewise there is no creator of a'rad, accidents, except Allah. Okay, so again, to go back to the example of lifting a glass, I cannot create this lifting. And this lifting doesn't happen with my power. Na'udhu billah. It happens with Allah's power and His creating. But why can I be punished for my actions then? It's because I have the what? The juz'i irada, a option to pick and choose. I have a will which Allah has granted, and therefore using my will in ma'asiyah against Allah's orders is what? Punishable. I heard the Shaykh Abu Abdul Rahman say, Abu Abdul Rahman, I believe is Sulami. I heard Muhammad bin Abdullah say, I heard Abu Ja'far As-Saydalani say, I heard Abu Sa'id al-Kharraz say, whoever thinks he exerts effort and reaches is one who strives to no avail. And whoever thinks he reaches without effort is one who merely wishes. Right? So we believe in the middle road, right? Whoever thinks he exerts effort and reaches is the one who strives to no avail, because reaching something can only be happen with the will of Allah. And whoever thinks that he reaches somewhere without any effort also is someone who merely wishes things. So he's completely imagining. There's no such thing. So Allah, He wants us to exert ourselves, but He wants us to believe it's from Him, right? So neither do we just sit still and expect to reach high places, but neither do we strive and think it's because of my striving that I'm going to get something. It is only that Allah has ordered us to strive, but giving what we are aiming for is again up to Him. وقال الواسطي, Al-Wasiti said, portions, stations and maqams, so ranks, apportioned and attributes set in motion. Okay, so portions apportioned and attributes set in motion. How could they be drawn by movement or attained by exertions? So he say, أقسام قسمت ونعوت أجريت كيف تستجلب بحركات أو تنال بسعايات. These things, right, they are these things have been apportioned. So there must be somebody apportioning them, right? These are attributes which have been set in motion. So there's something that has set these in motion. How could they be drawn by movements or attained by exertions? You cannot do anything to reach any maqam. Those maqams are given, they're bestowed by Allah Ta'ala. So it doesn't matter how much you pray, how much you fast. If Allah doesn't want you to have a certain maqam, you cannot reach that maqam yourself. Al-Wasiti was asked about disbelief in Allah or for Allah. Okay, so al-kufr وسئل الواسطي عن الكفر بالله أو لله. الكفر بالله أو لله. So disbelieving in Allah or for Allah. And he said disbelief, faith, the world and the hereafter. All of it is from Allah. All of these are from Allah, to Allah, by Allah, and for Allah. From Allah, so what does he mean, right? So he says, Al-Kufru wal-Iman wal-Dunya wal-Akhirah. Kufr, Iman, Dunya, Akhirah, all of it. Min Allah, from Allah, ilallah, to Allah, billah, so through Allah, walillah, for Allah. So what does he mean by min Allah, from Allah? Ibtida wa insha. Okay, from Allah as origination and bringing forth a creation. He created it, so it's from Allah. Min Allah as in he created it. To Allah, okay, ilallah as return and end. Everything returns back to Allah. So not as in distance or going to somewhere, as in the end is always everything returns back to Allah. By Allah as subsistence and passing away, and for Allah as he owns it, dominion and creation. Okay, so asking a question something like, is kufr from Allah or owned by Allah? So what the question is asking, okay, kufr. So when somebody is a kafir, him being a kafir, is it from Allah, right? Or him being a kafir, is it, does kufr belong to Allah? So can we say that statement? So Al-Wasiti says that kufr, Iman, the world, the hereafter, basically everything, all of it can be said from Allah, to Allah, belongs to Allah. It just depends on what you mean. So you can say kufr is from Allah. What does that mean? He created kufr, yes. You can say it belongs to Allah. What does that mean? Kufr belongs to Allah, as in he created it, so he owns it. He can do whatever he wants with kufr. He could destroy kufr and get rid of it and make everybody a Muslim if he wanted to, right? So, and you can say billah, you can say ilallah. It just depends on what you mean. So these aren't important matters, as in it's just linguistics, it's just Arabic. Right? Saying to Allah, from Allah, owned by Allah. It just depends on what you mean by these statements. So we don't take a statement on face value and say this person's kafir because he said this or this and that. You have to look at what he means by saying min Allah, in Allah, billah, lillah. All of these can have different meanings behind it. Now, قال Al-Junayd said, one of the scholars was asked about Tawheed, and he said it is certainty. Okay, what is Tawheed? He said Tawheed is yaqeen, certainty. The questioner said, explain it to me. What do you mean? Iman is yaqeen, right? He said, it is your knowledge that the movements of creation and their stillness are the act of Allah alone, without partner. So we're not Mu'tazilas. We don't believe that somebody moving and staying still is created by themselves. Na'udhu billah. It's created by Allah without partner. When you do that, you have affirmed his unity. That's the real Tawheed. So what he's saying is the Mu'tazila, what they're saying when they say the person creates his own things, that's not Tawheed, because now you've made a second creator, a third creator. All of the human beings, you've turned them into creators. So that's not Tawheed. I heard Muhammad bin al-Hussein, may Allah have mercy on him, say, I heard Abdul Wahid bin Ali say, I heard Al-Qasim ibn Qasim say, I heard Muhammad bin Musa al-Wasiti say. So that's the same Abu Bakr al-Wasiti we were mentioning before. I heard Muhammad ibn al-Hussein al-Jawhari say, I heard Dhunnun al-Musri say. Remember, we're going to hear a lot about Dhunnun al-Musri. A man came to him and said, supplicate to Allah for me. Do dua for me. He said, if you have been supported in the unseen by the truthfulness of Tawheed, then how many answered prayers have already proceeded for you? Otherwise, a call does not rescue the drowning. So he says, so a person said, do dua for me. And he said, if you have been supported in the unseen, as in with Iman, by the truthfulness of Tawheed, then how many answered prayers have already proceeded for you? Then he's saying this is a big gift. Otherwise, he said, if you don't actually have Tawheed or Iman in your heart, then me calling out, it's a play on words with dua. Dua normally means to pray for something, but it also means to call out and to ask for things. A call, a dua, does not rescue the drowning. Okay? وَإِلَّا فَإِنَّ النِّدَاءَ لَا يَنْقِذُ الْغَرْقِ. So someone who's drowning, for them to call out doesn't save them from drowning. وقال الواسطي, Al-Wasiti said, Pharaoh, okay, Fir'aun, claimed lordship openly, right? In the Quran, Pharaoh, it's written in the Quran, what he said, Na'udhu billah, he says, أَنَا رَبُّكُمُ الْأَعْلَى, right? I am your highest Lord. While the Mu'tazila claim lordship upon veiling. So Pharaoh, he claimed lordship openly, but the Mu'tazila, they're claiming to be Allah. They're claiming to have rububiyyah upon veiling, hiddenly. Saying, what do the Mu'tazila say? Whatever you will, you do, you create. So, na'udhu billah, they're saying Allah doesn't create it, you create it. So while Pharaoh claimed lordship openly, these Mu'tazila, they're claiming lordship upon veiling, as in secretly. Abu Hussein al-Nuri said, Tawheed is every thought that directs to Allah the Most High, after thoughts of likeness no longer compete with it. Again, Tawheed is every thought that directs to Allah the Most High, after thoughts of likeness no longer compete with it. So for you to genuinely believe Tawheed, first you must remove everything that has a likeness from your heart. Then you can genuinely believe in Tawheed. So all of this talk about physical hands and physical shins and physical legs, na'udhu billah, and physical this and that, all of it must leave your heart for you to genuinely have Tawheed. Someone asked, what is rububiyyah? Rububiyyah means lordship. Over here. Rabb, it comes from the word Rabb. Rabb means Lord. So Fir'aun said, he said, أَنَا رَبُّكُمُ الْأَعْلَى. Rabb, he said, I am your highest Lord. So your owner. Lordship means owner. And the Mu'tazila, they claim lordship. They claim ownership of what? Of the actions. So they're saying they created it, not Allah. So they're not saying that they're Allah. They're claiming lordship over something which Allah created, right? Because whatever you create, you own. And the only person that can create anything is Allah Ta'ala. So the only real Lord is Allah Ta'ala. So that's what it means by Tawheed. The Shaykh Abu Abdul Rahman al-Sulami, may Allah have mercy upon him, informed us, saying, I heard Abdul Wahid ibn Bakr say, I heard Hilal bin Ahmad say, Abu Ali al-Rudabari was asked about Tawheed, and he said, Tawheed is the uprightness of the heart in affirming. Remember, you must affirm. Transcendence from negation. Okay. Give me one moment here to check my notes again. Who were it that said, who, I think it was the Jahmiyyah. Yeah, the Jahmiyyah, they strongly denied Allah's attributes. So they would say that, for example, like Yadullah doesn't exist, where what the real Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah understanding is that whatever Allah said, we accept it's in the Quran. But what he meant by it, that can be disputed, right? So we say, Yadullah, okay, we won't translate it into hand either. We'll say Yadullah, but we'll also say that Allah says in the Quran, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ, there is nothing like him. So therefore, this Yad needs to be understood in context with the whole Quran, not just this ayah by itself. So we don't negate, right, transcendence from negation. So we're not like the Jahmiyyah. And rejecting like this, neither are we like the Mushabbiha, the Mujassima, which say it's a physical hand, or a hand like the human beings, na'udhu billah. And Tawheed, in a single phrase, is that whatever imaginations and thought depicts Allah, glorified be He, is other than it. And then he reads that verse from Ashura 11, nothing is like him and he is all hearing and all seeing. ليس كمثله شيء وهو السميع البصير. وقال أبو القاسم أن نصر آبادي, Abu al-Qasim and Nasr Abadi said, paradise endures by his causing it to endure, right? Jannah, we say Jannah, paradise is forever, yes? But how can something be forever? It's by Allah causing it to endure. Allah is making it carry on forever. His sustaining of Jannah, okay? And His remembrance of you, His mercy toward you, and His love for you endure by His own endurance. So He's making a difference here. He's saying paradise itself is being sustained by Allah Ta'ala, right? But His remembrance, His mercy, and His love, that is His that, right? That is Him. Therefore, it's not sustained by anything other. It's His endurance, right? His foreverness, basically. How far apart is what endures by His endurance from what endures by His sustaining? So they're making a difference here. There's a difference here, he says. They're so far apart, these two things. What Shaykh Abu al-Qasim and Nasr Abadi said is the utmost realization. For the people of Haqq, the people of truth said, the attributes of the essence of the eternal, the attributes of Allah's that, okay, His attributes, glorified be He, endure by His endurance. He thus pointed to this matter and clarified that what endures by His endurance, contrary to the claims of the opponents of the people of Haqq. So what we're saying here, Ahl Sunnah is saying here, is there's a difference between paradise, which is a creation, remember, and there is a difference between His sifat. Why do we say His sifat are not created? We say because they endure forever with Allah. So somebody might say, okay, well, Jannah also endures forever. Why are you calling that a creation? So they're trying to say that Allah's sifat are created, or they're trying to negate His sifat by saying, by giving Him sifat, you're saying that a creation is enduring with Him. But we say, just like paradise endures by His sustaining of it, there is a difference. That is creation. His sifat, they're not like Jannah. They're not like paradise in that they're being in that they are forever because of His sustaining of it. No, they are enduring with His endurance, right? So they're not created. His sifat are not created. So we do not negate His sifat by saying what these people are saying, comparing it to Jannah and saying it's creation, so it cannot be, something to do with Allah. So this is what the Jahmiyyah would say. So we say there's a difference. You cannot compare Jannah to His sifat. Muhammad ibn Hussein informed us, saying, I heard Nasr Abadi say, you are moving between the attributes of act and the attributes of essence, and both are truly his attributes. When he causes you to wander in the station of farq, this is a maqam that we will get to, I believe. Yes, in farq and jam' is the maqam, the station of farq and jam'. So when he causes you to wander in the station of farq, he joins you to the attributes of his act. And when he brings you to the station of jam', so there's farq and jam', the gathering, he joins you to the attributes of his essence. See chapter on jam' and farq. What does jam' and farq mean? It's summarized as in the Quran, in Al-Fatiha, what do we say? Iyyaka na'budu. Only to you do we worship. So when we're worshipping Allah, what is that? That is farq. That is, I am worshipping Allah, the Creator. So that is like a differentiation, right? But when we say wa iyyaka nasta'een, and only from you do I ask for help, this is what it's called jam'. So this is how they define farq and jam'. So when you're worshipping Allah Ta'ala, this is farq. And when you're asking something from Allah Ta'ala, so inside of you, right, when it's to do with spirituality, this is what we call jam'. It's not a real gathering and differentiating, it's a feeling. So when Allah Ta'ala puts you in the station of farq, he'll join you to the attributes of his act. So what is it? So what do we say? Allah Ta'ala is Al-Qadir, right? With what? Bil Qudra. So Al-Qadir bil Qudra. So there is Qadir. Al-Qadir is his essence, his attribute of that, right? Allah is Al-Qadir. But if you're calling somebody Qadir, there has to be what? Qudra. Qudra is the attribute of his act. So Allah is Al-Qadir with Qudra. Allah is Al-Alim with Ilm. So the sifat of Allah is Al-Alim. Yes, Al-Alim. Same meaning. Al-Alim. And there's Ilm. So Ilm is his sifat, his sifa, his attribute. And Al-Alim is his attribute. Al-Alim means the knower. With what? With knowledge. Al-Qadir, the one who has power. With what? With power, right? The powerful needs to have power. The Alim, the knowledgeable, has knowledge. So calling Allah the knowledgeable is an attribute of his that, is to do with his essence. But knowledge itself is the attribute of his act. So there is a difference here. And Abu Qasim and Nasr Abadi was the sheikh of his time. Okay, so these sort of things, we're not going to go into too much detail. Why? Because we're not actually reading an Aqidah book. We are reading a Tasawwuf book, so I want this to be easy to understand. But just understand that Al-Qadir and Qudra, these are two sifat. One is to do with the attributes of his act, and one is to do with the attributes of his essence. So I heard the teacher, Imam Abu Ishaq Isfarayini, may Allah have mercy on him, say, when I returned from Baghdad, I used to teach in the mosque of Nishapur. The question of the ruh and the spirit, and I used to teach in the mosque of Nishapur the question of the spirit and explain the view that it is created. And Abu Qasim and Nasr Abadi was sitting at a distance from us listening to my word. A few days later, he passed by us and said to Muhammad al-Farrah, I testify that I have accepted Islam at the hands of this man, and he pointed to me. Okay? So there is a mas'ala of ar-ruh, and he says, I used to teach it, and I used to explain that ar-ruh is created. Why? Because there are those that say the spirit is not created. And why do they say that? Because in the Quran it says, وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي, I blew into Adam alayhi salam from my soul, ruhi, my soul. So some people understand this wrongfully to mean Allah's soul, but what that means is Allah's soul as in ownership, a soul which I own. So just like I say, for example, not just like, but for example, when you own something, what do you say? You say, my glasses, right? My hat, my shirt. So when Allah is saying, I blew into it from my ruh, He's saying the ruh which I created. Allah ascribes things to Himself to give those things importance. So the ruh is something very important. That's why Allah is saying, my ruh, as in the one I created. But the people who take the ayahs literally, what does it say in the ayah? وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي, I blew into Adam alayhi salam from my ruh. So they take that to be Allah's ruh. One, there's two problems with this. One, how can Allah's ruh enter a human being? Second, you're saying that Allah has a ruh. So Allah is made up of two things, because a ruh and then jism, you would have to have a jism or something similar. So you're saying that Allah is made up of more than one part. So we also negate that Allah can have a jism, a body. Why? Because Allah can only be one, wahid, ahad, right? So nothing that we can think of can ever resemble Him. So saying that Allah blew His ruh into us is very problematic in many different ways, and it doesn't make sense. So that's why what was he saying? Abu Ishaq Isfarayini, he used to teach in Nishapur, the question of the spirit. So the ruh, he explains that that it's a created ruh, and Allah is just saying min ruhi, as in the ruh I created. And Abu Qasim al-Nasr Abadi, he says that I have accepted Islam at the hands of this man, and he points to him. I heard Muhammad ibn al-Husayn al-Sunami say, I heard Abu al-Husayn al-Farsi say, I heard Ibrahim ibn Fatiq say, I heard Junayd al-Baghdadi say, when can the one who has no likeness and no equal be connected with what has likeness and equal? Far be it. Impossible, he's saying. Allah, who has no likeness and no equal, cannot be connected to something which has likeness and equal. This is strange and an impossible assumption, except by what the subtle one bestows, from where there is no comprehension, no imagination, and no encompassing. So what is meant by that connection is that only an indication of certainty and realization of faith upon the heart is bestowed, nothing else. So when we say al-wasl, the kalima here, the important word here is wasl. So when we say you have reached Allah, someone has reached Allah, wasl, yeah? What do we actually mean? Junayd al-Baghdadi, he's saying when we say wasl, obviously we don't mean Allah and this person has, na'udhu billah, been connected or they've reached each other. That's not what we mean. This is impossible, he says. What we actually mean when we say a person has done wasl to Allah, he's reached Allah, that means what? An indication of certainty and realization of faith. His Iman is strong. He has yaqeen in his heart. So he has reached the last stage of Iman. With yaqeen, he believes that Allah Ta'ala is, he has that Iman in Allah Ta'ala. So that's what we mean wasl, reaching it, making it. Not that he's physically or any other way connected to Allah. It's only what? His Iman, his faith is strong. That's what we mean when we say wasl to Allah. So no one should misunderstand their quotes when they say al-wasl. We obviously don't mean actually reaching Allah. So when we say path to Allah, that doesn't mean we're actually going to reach Allah. When we say path to Allah, that doesn't mean there's a distance between us and Allah and we're slowly getting there. Na'udhu billah. All of these, they're what? Majaz. They're just sayings. It's just a way of explaining things which are otherwise very hard to explain. Muhammad bin al-Husayn informed us saying, I heard Abdul Wahid bin Bakr say, Ahmed bin Muhammad bin Ali al-Bardai narrated to me saying, Tahir bin Ismail al-Razi narrated to us saying that it was said to Yahya bin Mu'adh, inform me about Allah, mighty and exalted. He said, Allah is one ilah. Okay. So over here he's saying, أخبرني عن الله, teach me about Allah, explain Allah to me. He says, ilahun wahidun, one God. Yes, one ilah, ilahun wahidun. So Allah is one God. فقيل له كيف هو, how is Allah, كيف? He says, his answer is Malikun Qadir. He said, sovereign, powerful, the owner of everything and powerful. فقيل, and then it was asked, أين هو, where is he? So the first question was, teach me, give me news about Allah. The other one is, how is Allah? كيف, what sort of thing is he? How is he? Is it like كيف? The other one is أين, where is Allah? فقال هو بالمرصاد. He said he is in Mirsad. He is at Mirsad. Mirsad is I forgot the English word. It's an ayah which says, Inna rabbaka labil mirsad. For your Lord is truly vigilant. So Inna rabbaka labil mirsad. So it says, surely rabbaka, your Lord, labil mirsad, is at mirsad, is truly vigilant. Mirsad is like a watchtower, right? So he goes, where is Allah? He goes, huwa bil mirsad. So the questioner said, that's not what I meant, right? Lam as'aluka an hada. He said, I didn't ask you about this. So he's not saying what is Allah doing. He's trying to say, where is he position wise, or where is he makan wise, right? So then he said, whatever is other than this is a description of creation. So anything to say Allah is anywhere other than bil mirsad, as in Allah said himself, is a description of creation, as in how and where, right, does not apply to Allah. As for his description, it is what I informed you of, right? So you cannot ask kayfa and you cannot ask aina for Allah. If you do, we can only say what Allah has said about himself, right? Muhammad bin Hussein informed us saying, I heard Abu Bakr al-Razi say, I heard Abu Ali al-Rudabari say, whatever an ignorant person imagines him to be, reason indicates that he is other than it. So smart people know that Allah is nothing other than, Allah is nothing like anything else. Therefore, anything you imagine him to be, he's not that. Ibn Shaheen asked Al-Junayd about the meaning of ma'iyya, ma'a, right? So Allah, in many places, he says ma'allah, right? Ma'allah, with Allah. So what does being with Allah mean? And he said with has two meanings. In the context of with the prophets, it means by support and protection. Allah the Exalted said, indeed I am with you both, I hear and see. Okay? And in the context of with the commoners, so with us, it means by knowledge and encompassment. Allah the Exalted says, no private conversation of three except that he is their fourth, right? In Surah Mujadala. So his knowledge and encompassment. Ibn Shaheen said, one like you is fit to be a guide for the community to Allah. So he's talking about Junayd al-Baghdadi. So he's never heard such a nice response to this question. So what does it mean Allah is with you? It means if we're talking about the prophets, Allah is supporting and protecting them. So there's no physical being together. Yeah. And if the context is about people like us, lay people, then it means what? His knowledge and his encompassment. The knowledge, his knowledge encompasses everything we're doing and everything we're saying. Right? Dhunnun was asked about so Allah's saying, the Most High, the All-Merciful, istawa upon the throne. So Ar-Rahmanu ala al-Arsh istawa. Dhunnun and Masri was asked about this. We'll talk about this inshallah next lesson. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى اللهم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. الفاتحة مع الصلوات.